Long, long ago, before anyone's great-great-grandparents and before the animals and plants, there was no earth, no sky and no universe. There was only an empty space like this, bigger and colder than we can imagine. There was no sun, no moon, and no stars. And then something happened. There was an explosion. A a cloud of light and heat moved through the empty space. This fiery cloud was very huge, but in space it was no bigger than a drop of water and contained the earth and all the stars. And this is that fiery ball, and these are the stars. Each tiny little particle has special laws of nature to follow. Some matter has special love for certain, special dislike for others. Some particles were attracted to each other and some were not. When objects pull together, it's called gravity. In one small corner of the vast universe, a spinning cloud of space matter was hit by a giant shock wave. This is the shock wave and this is the cloud. The cloud broke and formed many clumps. One hot clump grew very large and round, fiery and bright, and became the center of all other clumps. That is the sun. This is the sun. 8 cooling planets all moved around the fiery sun and stayed close to its brightness. The sun stayed in the center and the planets traveled around in circles called orbits. This is called the solar system. This is the solar system. This is Sun. This is Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Earth. And this is Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. They are just like members of family who all are different from each other but still stick close together. Each planet is a different size and color, followed its own path and traveled at its own speed, but all planets moved in an orbit around the sun. When the Earth was first formed, it was still very, very hot, too hot for anything to live on it. The surface was melted rock flowing and bubbling in hot molten rivers. There were no trees or birds or any other plants or animals. There was no air to breathe. Hot asteroids from space crashed onto the Earth's surface of the Earth, making it even hotter. Some kind of rock flowed in the molten rivers. Some of the particles were very, very heavy, and some were light. The heavy particles sank to the center of the Earth, and the light particles stayed close to the surface because that is the nature of things. The sun is a billion times bigger than Earth, but it doesn't look big from here because we are so far away from it. The light from the sun takes 8 minutes to reach us. If we drove 100 meters all day and night, it would take us 106 years to reach the sun. 3 states of matter: solid, liquid, gas. Water squeezed through cracks in the Earth's surface and evaporated into the sky. Clouds surrounded the Earth, and it rained and rained and rained. Slowly, all the matter on Earth cooled. As the particles were also different, some remained solid, others became liquid, and still others became gases. Everything we know is a solid, a liquid, or a gas. In solid state, particles cling together so closely that they are almost impossible to separate. They cannot change shape unless someone applies force. If a piece is broken off, it's for examples. You break off a piece of stone. The broken pieces are still in solid state. Liquid. The particles of a liquid also hold together, but not so very closely. These particles roll over each other so that liquid has no shape of its own. This allows the liquid to flow and spread, filling every hollow and crease in its path. These particles of a liquid push downward and sideways, but never upwards. That is why we can put our hands in water, but we cannot put them inside a rock. Gas. The particles of gases do not cling together at all. They move freely in all directions. Volcanoes and clouds. Over millions of years, the Earth's surface slowly cooled down and began to harden. As it hardened, it formed a thin crust, like a crust of bread. But underneath the Earth was still made of boiling red-hot molten rock. This molten rock began to expand because the nature of hot things is that they get bigger. So they began to expand and push up and made big hollows in new thin crust of the Earth. They are called the volcanoes. All over the Earth's crust, volcanoes spewed hot molten rock for many years. For a long time, volcanoes guessed lava and belched out gases that floated up into the sky. Mountain. More and more gases became liquid, more and more liquids became solid. The Earth itself shrank and became wrinkled like an old apple that has left in a cupboard. These wrinkles the mountain. For as the rocks had cooled down, the water was able to return to the earth, and it rained and rained, and the water being liquid filled every hollow and crease found in its path. The hollows are the oceans. Thus, the oceans were formed. Earth. Here comes Mother Earth, blue planet Earth. Ho ho! Above them was the air, the air that we breathe. The clouds disappeared. Rocks, water, air, solid